Welcome to the Dodgers Blue News channel. Before the news, please leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications. Now, let's get to the Dodgers news.
Hey there, Dodgers fans. Today I'm here to bring you the latest moves from our blue and white team. We just received an important update about the Dodgers roster. The organization made an official decision this week, releasing right-handed pitcher Matt Sauer after a season that did not meet expectations. The 26-year-old, who arrived in Los Angeles from the Kansas City Royals during the offseason, ends his stint with the Dodgers after being designated for assignment over the weekend and subsequently released. Sauer's numbers in blue and white tell the story of a challenging season. In 10 appearances, the pitcher posted a 6.67 ERA, with a record of 2 wins and 1 loss, along with 1 save over 29 2/3 innings pitched. His last outing came against the Colorado Rockies, where he worked 2 innings allowing 2 earned runs. Sauer's journey with the Dodgers had its memorable moments. The Santa Maria native was initially selected for the historic Tokyo series before returning to AAA. His official debut took place on April 7 against the Washington Nationals, and 3 weeks later he made his first MLB start, throwing 5 innings in the Dodgers' 15-2 blowout win over the Miami Marlins. Among the highlights of Sauer's time with the Dodgers, we point out his 4-inning performance with just 1 hit against the Marlins on May 7, when he struck out 4 batters and issued only 1 walk. However, there were also tough moments, especially the game against the San Diego Padres on June 10, when he allowed 9 runs and 13 hits, even forcing Kike Hernandez to take the mound for the final 2 1/3 innings. That 111-pitch outing was particularly draining for the young pitcher. Manager Dave Roberts, always fair in his assessments, acknowledged Sauer's effort at a critical point in the season, when the Dodgers had 14 pitchers on the injured list and were facing a brutal stretch of games. Now Matt Sauer moves on as a free agent, available to any organization that wants his services in the final weeks of this 2025 regular season. That's how baseball works, folks. Some stories have endings different from what we expected, but every player writes his own path in this sport we all love so much. Continuing our coverage of Dodgers moves, now let's address a situation that has generated a lot of debate among the blue and white nation. Tanner Scott, our relief pitcher who arrived with so many expectations, is going through one of the most challenging moments of his career. The baseball world went into a frenzy after Scott's frank statements to the press following a decisive grand slam he gave up to the San Francisco Giants. With the honesty that characterizes great competitors, Scott did not hide his frustration, declaring he is living the worst year of his professional life. It is rare to see an athlete of this caliber be so direct about his struggles, but it shows the man's character. The 2025 season has truly been a test of endurance for Scott. The left-hander, who signed a 4-year, $72 million contract after a spectacular 2024 season, saw his stats plunge into uncharted territory, with 9 blown saves so far. In his own words, as reported by Bill Plunkett, Scott questioned whether he might be inadvertently telegraphing his pitches to opposing hitters, a concern that shows his dedication to finding answers. Dave Roberts, our manager, once again demonstrated why he is one of the most respected leaders in baseball. Roberts publicly defended Scott, acknowledging that despite the outside noise, the clubhouse's confidence remains unshaken. As Roberts said, the players believe in him, and he continues to believe in his pitcher. That is the mark of a true leader. The situation drew even more attention after Scott allowed back-to-back walk-off wins to the Baltimore Orioles in early September. These tough moments placed a spotlight on his ability to close games, something he executed masterfully last year while splitting his season between the Miami Marlins and San Diego Padres. Scott himself showed the mindset of a true professional by admitting he is at a crossroads, recognizing that he needs to find solutions quickly. His statement that the situation is terrible and that he needs to improve reflects not despair, but the determination of an athlete who does not accept mediocrity. The Dodgers fan base, as always, shows its passion through divided opinions. Some maintain unshakable faith that Scott will return to the form that brought him to Los Angeles, while others call for adjustments in the bullpen. That is the nature of the most passionate fan base in baseball, always emotionally invested in the team's success. Baseball analysts are working overtime trying to decipher the Scott puzzle. Theories range from mechanical issues to simply a rough patch that every great pitcher faces at some point in his career. What we do know is that Scott has both the talent and the mindset to overcome this obstacle. With the final stretch of the season approaching quickly, the Dodgers need their investment in Scott to start paying dividends. The organization and the fans expect him to regain not only his effectiveness, but also the confidence that made him the dominant closer we know. The question that lingers is whether he can make the transition in time to be a positive factor in the playoff race and perhaps in a potential run toward the World Series title. And look, Dodgers Nation, moments like this test our true loyalty. In baseball, just like in life, the highs and lows are part of the journey. Tanner Scott is a proven professional who got here on his own merit, and now more than ever he needs to feel the support. As Dodgers fans, we know that our positive energy truly makes a difference. When Scott takes the mound in his upcoming appearances, he needs to hear those cheers of encouragement echoing from the stands. The guy is fighting, he is being honest about his struggles, and that deserves our respect. The Dodgers' success down the stretch this season may very well depend on Scott finding his rhythm again. He has already shown what he is capable of before, and with the support of the organization and the fans, there is no reason to believe he cannot return to being that dominant closer we know. So let's keep the faith, folks. Let's root for Tanner Scott to rediscover his magic on the mound, because when he is at his best, the Dodgers will be even stronger in this journey toward what we hope will be another World Series title. That is what we do here in Los Angeles, we support our players through the good and the bad times. And speaking of smart moves by our organization, let's analyze a trade that is looking even more brilliant as time goes by. We're talking about the Gavin Lux trade that happened at the start of this season. When the Dodgers sent Lux, our former first-round pick, to the Cincinnati Reds in exchange for outfield prospect Mike Sirota plus a competitive balance round draft pick, opinions in our fan base were divided. Many questioned whether we were getting enough value for the young player. After all, with the signing of Hye-Sung Kim, Lux truly became expendable, but the return seemed modest at the time. 9 months later, the answer is crystal clear before our eyes. The Dodgers may very well have discovered a hidden gem. Cincinnati had selected Sirota in the 3rd round of the 2024 draft, but what our organization saw was first-round potential. And the 2025 numbers are proving that vision correct. Sirota already appears on several lists of MLB's top prospects, including Jim Bowden's top 50 at The Athletic and Jim Callis's 2025 breakout prospect team at MLB Pipeline. Sirota's numbers are simply stunning. At Rancho Cucamonga, our single-A affiliate, he posted spectacular averages of .354/452/616 with 13 home runs, showing a rare combination of elite power and plate discipline. Since his promotion to High-A Great Lakes, he has kept up the pace with a .316 average and a 1.014 OPS in 34 games, establishing himself as one of the most productive young hitters in the entire minor league system. Baseball Savant grades Sirota at 55 or above in nearly every fundamental tool. We're talking hitting, running, arm, and fielding, with an overall tool projection of 55. He shows exceptional bat speed, elite strike zone recognition, above-average running speed, impressive arm strength, and solid outfield defense. That makes him a legitimate option to play center field long-term, with the potential for 20 home runs and 20 stolen bases. Sirota's floor is already that of a solid 4th outfielder, but his ceiling is sky-high. At 22 years old, playing in High-A, he already projects as a potential all-star center fielder with a unique combination of power and speed. If he continues on this development path, we could see him make his MLB debut with our Dodgers as early as 2027. Mike Sirota is quickly capturing the attention of the entire baseball community. His blend of natural talent, technical refinement, and consistent production is transforming him from just another prospect into a potential cornerstone of the Dodgers' future outfield. This trade perfectly illustrates our organization's long-term vision. We got back value we never imagined possible for Lux, especially considering he had lost much of his appeal over the past 2 years due to injuries and inconsistency in performance. This is how you build a sustainable dynasty, Dodgers fans. And to wrap up our coverage for today, let's address a possibility that could significantly shake up the next Dodgers offseason. We're talking about Edwin Díaz, the star closer of the New York Mets, who may be available on the free agent market. The situation is interesting because the Dodgers chose not to make big moves at the trade deadline, despite the obvious needs in our bullpen. Throughout this season, we've had to deal with injuries and inconsistent performances in the relief corps, and the only significant addition was Alex Call at the deadline. This conservative approach may have been strategic, thinking precisely about opportunities like this that appear on the horizon. Jim Riley, a respected Major League Baseball analyst, made a projection that certainly caught the attention of our entire fan base. He predicts that the Dodgers will be major players in the race for Edwin Díaz, who is expected to opt out of his $102 million contract at the end of this season after another spectacular campaign. Riley envisions a true battle between the East and West Coasts, with the Mets and Dodgers fighting for Díaz's services. His prediction is that David Stearns and the Mets will eventually not be able to match the Dodgers' aggressiveness in the market, resulting in the Puerto Rican's arrival in Los Angeles. The logic behind this possible move makes perfect sense for our organization. As Riley highlighted, the bullpen has been one of the main areas of concern for the Dodgers this season, and solving that issue must be the top priority next offseason. The idea of forming a closing duo with Díaz and Tanner Scott would be an aggressive and potentially transformative approach. Díaz's numbers this season speak for themselves. With a 1.83 ERA and 26 saves, he is enjoying the third All-Star season of his career. Imagine putting that talent alongside Scott, complemented by Alex Vesia, Blake Trinan, and Kirby Yates in our bullpen. That would definitively solve the only real weakness in our roster. We know it may be hard for fans of other organizations to imagine yet another star joining the Dodgers this winter, but our recent offseason history sets a clear pattern of aggressiveness in the free agent market. The organization has never hesitated to make the necessary investments to maintain our competitiveness at the highest level. This possible addition of Díaz represents exactly the kind of strategic move we expect from our front office. It's an opportunity to transform an area of concern into a significant competitive advantage, keeping the Dodgers at the forefront of the World Series race in the coming seasons. For Edwin Díaz, the chance to wear the Dodgers uniform would mean much more than simply changing cities. It would be the opportunity to join an organizational culture that breeds excellence in every department, from player development to the state-of-the-art facilities that make Dodger Stadium and our academy's world-class references in baseball. Díaz would find in Los Angeles an environment completely different from what he experienced in New York. Here we have a structure that allows pitchers to focus exclusively on what they do best, without the external pressures and distractions that can affect performance. Our coaching staff, led by Dave Roberts, has a proven track record of getting the most out of veteran pitchers, creating tactical schemes that optimize individual skills. The integration of Díaz into our system would be nearly seamless. His experience in high-pressure situations would ideally complement the Dodgers' mentality of never backing down from big moments. He would bring not only his devastating pitch arsenal but also the natural leadership of someone who has already closed out decisive games on baseball's biggest stages. What's most interesting is how Díaz would fit tactically into our bullpen. With him and Scott forming a closing duo, Dave Roberts would have the flexibility to use both in specific situations depending on matchups and game context. Díaz could take the traditional closer role, while Scott could be used in high-leverage eighth-inning spots or even split closing duties. The presence of veterans like Blake Trinan and the energy of young talents like Alex Vesia would create a bullpen environment where Díaz could thrive without carrying the burden alone. He would be part of a cohesive group where every pitcher has a well-defined role, allowing him to focus on dominating his specific responsibility. For a natural competitor like Díaz, the opportunity to contend for World Series titles annually would be a decisive factor. The Dodgers offer something few teams can guarantee: the real promise of competing for the championship every year, with unlimited resources to maintain an elite roster. The move to the West Coast would also mean playing for one of the most respected organizations in the sport, where great pitchers have built lasting legacies. Díaz would have the chance to write his name into the rich history of the Dodgers, potentially winning the titles still missing from his individual resume. It's exactly this kind of perfect fit between talent, opportunity, and organizational culture that makes the Dodgers the ideal destination for stars like Edwin Díaz looking to take their game to the next level. When we talk about all these moves together, folks, it's clear we're seeing a Dodgers organization operating with an extremely sophisticated long-term strategic vision. Every decision, from releasing Matt Sauer to the possible pursuit of Edwin Díaz, reflects an organizational philosophy that balances immediate needs with future sustainability. What's most impressive about this sequence of moves is how each decision connects with the others. The patience with Scott makes more sense when we consider that Díaz may arrive to share the load. The release of Sauer makes more sense knowing that resources are being preserved for bigger investments. The development of Sirota ensures the future is being built even as the present is optimized. The conclusion is that we are looking at an organization that has learned to operate simultaneously across multiple time horizons. The Dodgers are not just trying to win in 2025, they are building a foundation to dominate the next decade. They show loyalty when appropriate, are relentless when necessary, and always keep the focus on the ultimate goal of bringing World Series titles to Los Angeles. That's the difference between having a franchise and having a dynasty. The Dodgers are building something bigger than any individual season, creating a sustainable model of excellence that other teams will try to imitate but few will be able to replicate. That's why we wear blue and white with such pride, folks. We're not just fans of a team, we're part of an organization that sets the standard for how baseball should be played and managed at the highest level. Now I want to hear from you. What do you think? Which of these moves caught your attention the most, and what impact do you believe it will have on the Dodgers' future? Leave your opinions in the comments. See you next time, Dodgers Nation.